Far beyond hats and duels, the West was a stage for women who changed the rules. Some led robberies, others ran businesses. Many ruled the wooden stages. Amid fragile laws and vast distances, they forged their own paths and left their mark. Come with me. With each story, the frontier gains new faces and new questions. Number 1. Before the newspapers ever talked about the Wild West, Martha Jane Canary was already crossing Dakota, leading wagon trains and hunting for supplies. She learned to shoot on rough trips, worked as a scout, and took on jobs most men turned down. In dusty forts, she traded rest for water and gunpowder. During smallpox outbreaks, she boiled cloths and treated fevers. She earned the nickname Calamity Jane, rode with Wild Bill Hickok, and became a story told around campfires and in saloons. Between boldness and care, she showed that in the West, courage had many forms, and that a woman could take any saddle. Number 2. Belle Starr was born Myra Maybelle Shirley and grew up among farms and Missouri guerrillas after the Civil War. In her youth, she ran with Cole Younger and through him with Jesse James, learning routes, codes, and the price of silence. She preferred giving orders to pulling the trigger. She picked targets, covered escapes, and arranged hideouts. Her fame came from stolen horses, blocked trains, and emptied safes. In 1889, she was shot to death on a country road. Her killer was never proven, and that mystery fueled the legend that carried her name across the West. Number 3. Big Nose Kate, partner of Doc Holliday. She was born Mary Catherine Horany, the daughter of a Hungarian doctor, and crossed the West when Arizona was still frontier land. In saloons, she learned how to make deals, read danger, and earn a living without illusions. The nickname came from her striking face, the fame from her courage. When she met John Henry Doc Holliday, a bond was formed, just as tense as the territory itself. When Doc fell into the hands of the law, Kate set fire to an outbuilding, drew the armed men away, and cleared the path for his escape. The start of a partnership driven by loyalty, whiskey, and gunpowder. Number 4. Annie Oakley, the sharpshooting master. At the end of the 19th century, Annie Oakley traveled across the country with Buffalo Bill's show and became the main attraction. In the ring, she'd toss a coin into the air and split it mid-flight. Then on horseback, she'd shoot spinning cards as if time itself slowed down. Her fame crossed the Atlantic. In front of Kaiser Wilhelm II, she's said to have shot through the center of an ace held between his gloved fingers. Her axe carried a simple but new idea for the time. Precision and courage weren't just a man's game. Number 5. Mary Fields, known as Stagecoach Mary, came onto the scene when the West was still finding its footing after the Civil War. After working at a Catholic mission in Montana, she landed a postal route contract and became the first woman to run that service there. Driving her stagecoach, she crossed blizzards, rivers, and ambushes to deliver letters and packages. When she stopped, she shared food and firewood, building a sense of community. Her message was simple: nobody would go without news. That's how she earned the fame that made her a legend in the frontier towns. Number 6. Lottie Dino, the Queen of Cards. Born Carlotta J. Tompkins, the daughter of a horse breeder in Kentucky, she learned early how to calculate odds at the card tables her father set up at home. As an adult, she traveled from Texas to New Mexico, always poised and elegant, winning in saloons where gunmen and bankers tried their luck. In Fort Griffin, her calm became the stuff of legend. There are stories of card duels with Doc Holliday. Lottie Dino became a mark of respect. Sitting across from her meant risking an expensive bluff. Number 7. At the height of the gold rush, Cripple Creek became a place of fast money and flexible morals. That's where Pearl DeVere built a house with closed doors and open accounts, electric lights, live music, and expensive champagne. Behind the glamour, she set a rare rule for the West: clear contracts, fair pay, a doctor when needed, and warmth in the winter. Wealthy clients crossed the dusty street to buy silence and status. The women, for the first time, negotiated on equal footing. When Pearl died young, the town finally realized who had been setting the pace of luxury. Number 8. Laura Bullion traded the quiet countryside for tracks and dust when she joined Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, and the Wild Bunch. Between 1897 and 1901, she helped rob trains and banks, planned escape routes, forged checks and sometimes traveled disguised as a man to throw off the sheriffs. Around the camps, she used to say her aim spoke for her. Her downfall came in 1901, when she was arrested in Tennessee with marked money. Released years later, she lived quietly in Memphis, sewing and keeping away from the past that had turned her into a legend. Number 9. Etta Place, the mysterious lady of the Sundance Kid. Almost nothing is known for sure about Etta Place. Alongside Butch Cassidy and his partner, the Sundance Kid, she crossed borders, spent money in passing towns, and vanished when the heat got too strong. Pinkerton detectives closed in, and she's believed to have sailed to South America, trying to start over under different names. Ever since, curious folks have combed through ship records, old newspapers, and testimonies, all searching for the missing piece, who Etta really was, and why she disappeared without leaving a clear trace. Number 10. At the height of the gold rush in Nevada City, Eleanor Dumont showed up as a blackjack dealer in a saloon where men usually called the shots. She became known as Madame Mustache for her faint mustache and her strict rules. No drunks at the table, fair play, and bets paid on the spot. Gamblers crossed territories just to face her calm way of reading bluffs and heartbeats. When the gold veins ran out, she moved on too, from boomtown to boomtown, until the debts caught up with her. In 1879, on the dusty streets of Bodie, her table closed for good. Number 11. Cathay Williams, the soldier in disguise. Born into slavery, Cathay served as a cook for the Union Army during the Civil War. In 1866, now free, she enlisted in the 38th Infantry Regiment under the name William Cathay. She marched west, carried a rifle, treated the wounded, and kept her secret until illness sent her to the doctor. Once discovered, she was discharged in 1868. Her brief name in the records is enough to show that when the road is closed, there's still a way through, and room to clear a path for those who come after. Number 12. Sarah Winnemucca, the Paiute voice that refused to be silenced. When settlers and soldiers pushed west, Sarah understood the scale of the threat. Granddaughter of tribal leaders, she learned the white man's languages to negotiate and expose injustices. She worked as an interpreter for the army, wrote letters, faced officials in Washington, and asked for something simple: to honor the treaties and keep families on their land. She traveled to train teachers and opened small schools on reservations. Her persistence became a symbol of Native resistance and proved that speaking up clearly is also a way to protect a people. Number 13. Mary Ellen Pleasant, the strategist of the gold rush. Amid the gold rush in San Francisco, she built restaurants where bankers and politicians sealed their deals. She listened more than she spoke, turning rumors into investment maps, buying property and stocks at just the right moment. A black woman in a world that wanted her on the outside, she moved through white elite circles, built capital, and kept powerful allies. Part of her profits funded abolitionist networks and quiet support for John Brown. Between lawsuits and gossip about her past, she became a woman both feared and sought after, and the mystery remained. Number 14. Pearl Hart, the stagecoach bandit. At 17, the Canadian-born Pearl Hart ended up in Arizona and, alongside Joe Boot, decided to make a living robbing stagecoaches. The 1899 heist brought little money but lasting fame. In saloons, the story kept growing with every retelling. Caught soon after, Boot escaped from jail. Pearl was sent to Yuma, where there were hardly any facilities for women, and was released before finishing her sentence. Since then, her name has lingered as both a warning and an invitation. The frontier rewards courage, but it always collects its due. Number 15. From a shop clerk in Wisconsin to a star of Leadville saloons, Elizabeth Baby Doe Tabor became a symbol of the American dream when she married Silver Baron Horace Tabor. There came silk, caviar, headlines, and a town that couldn't stop saying her name. In 1893, the financial panic crashed Silver and pulled the rug out from under their fortune. Widowed, she went back to the old mining grounds, living simply and sewing to get by. Reporters still came knocking, curious about the woman who held the keys to an empire turned to dust, waiting for a stroke of luck that never came. Number 16. When Alice Ivers, known as Poker Alice, traveled the roads of the West, she quickly figured out where the money was. in cards, chips, and long nights in noisy saloons. She ran tables, dealt the games, and saw all kinds sit across from her. Uniformed officers, slick mayors, and gunmen chasing fame. Most of the time, she walked away with the pot. One night, a drunk soldier went after her men. Alice didn't hesitate. She aimed, fired, and stopped the fight. She was taken in by the police and later acquitted in court for self-defense. And her legend only grew from there. Number 17. Cattle Kate, the wronged rancher. Ellen Watson, known as Cattle Kate, claimed her piece of land in Wyoming and started branding calves just as the law allowed. Each new brand angered the big ranchers. They answered with a familiar script: cattle theft accusations, bought headlines, and hired gunmen. In the summer of 1889, Ellen and James Averill were taken from their home at gunpoint and lynched. Afterward came pamphlets with the official version. Years later, public records revealed that she had been buying cattle legally, and that the accusation was a setup by the cattle barons. Number 18. In the 1870s in Kansas, the Bender family ran a small inn along a traveler's route. It seemed like an honest business: a set table, warm beds, and short conversations. Behind the scenes, Elvira, the matriarch, decided who lived and who disappeared. John and John Jr. provided the distraction. Kate, with her soft voice, did the luring, and one well-placed blow did the rest. Out back, shallow graves told the story most people preferred to ignore. When the case blew up, the house was empty and the family was gone. Some say they were lynched, others say they escaped. What's certain is that many travelers never made it back. Number 19. Margaret Tobin Brown was born in St. Louis, and as a young woman headed west. In Leadville, she and J.J. Brown struck it rich with a gold mine, not silver, and she became an outspoken advocate for fair wages and housing for miners. Traveling between the U.S. and Europe, she boarded the Titanic in 1912. After the collision, she helped hand out life vests, organized passengers in Lifeboat 6, and insisted they go back to look for survivors. In New York, she led fundraising efforts and pushed for aid to those rescued. Her strong will made her a public icon, the unsinkable Molly Brown. Number 20. In the early 1900s, Susan Anderson, known as Doc Susie, left the city and became a frontier doctor in Colorado. Instead of a clinic, she had a saddle and saddlebags. She crossed frozen valleys to care for miners, loggers, and isolated families. One winter night, with no hospital nearby, she set up an operating room in a kitchen, oil lamps, boiling water on the stove, and a worn scalpel. With the patient lying on a wooden table, she stopped the bleeding and closed the wound. The man survived, and the whole region realized who was really holding that place together. Number 21. At 15, Rose Dunn left her sewing lessons for the dusty trails of the Oklahoma Territory. With George Bitter Creek Newcomb's gang, she learned to watch the trails, split supplies, and plan retreats. In the ambush that made her famous, deputies surrounded Newcomb. Rose ran through the crossfire carrying ammunition and covered the gang's escape. She was arrested after the fight but was soon released. The speed of her release fueled rumors of a deal made off the record. Since then, her name has come to stand for the contradictions of the frontier: loyalty, calculation, and survival. Number 22. Carrie A. Nation, the Hatchet Lady. She wasn't a thief or a gunslinger. In 1900 in Kansas, Carrie A. Nation would march into saloons with a Bible in one hand and a hatchet in the other. She claimed it was God's mission: to smash bars, barrels, and bottles to stop the alcohol that was tearing families apart. Every swing made headlines. Every arrest drew crowds and donations to the temperance movement. Bar owners kept watch on the train station. If word spread that she was coming, they'd shut their doors. Many didn't hold out for long. She'd come back and do it again. Number 23. The nun who faced Billy the Kid. At the end of the 19th century, in a small New Mexico town, Sister Blandina Segal walked into a crowded saloon where the gunslinger was making a name for himself. A man, captured by bandits, was just minutes away from being killed. With no escort and no bravado, Blandina stepped between the victim and the gun. She said revenge never fixes a life. The law should speak before the trigger. The room fell silent. Billy lowered his revolver and the town learned that courage can wear a habit too. Number 24. Olive Oatman was crossing the West on her way to California. when a Yavapai attack wiped out her family and took her captive. Months later, she was traded to the Mojave, who adopted her and marked her chin with dark blue lines, a sign of belonging and a promise of passage to the next world. In 1856, she was traded back to white society by soldiers at Fort Yuma, but the tattoo spoke first. In every town, Olive became a paid attraction, a living reminder of a frontier where the meeting of peoples left scars time could never erase. Number 25, Molly Monahan, the bold stagecoach driver. In a world dominated by male drivers, Molly Monahan took the reins and became a legend. Wearing a wide-brimmed hat, a cartridge belt slung across her chest, and eyes sharp on the trail, she drove the stagecoach that carried mail and passengers along bandit-infested routes. When two robbers blocked the road, Molly raised her gun, took steady aim, and sent the pair running. Postal records still preserve her story and keep alive the question: how far would that woman have gone in the next race across the Old West? With every mile traveled, the buzz grew in the town she left behind.